St Pancras always felt like a cathedral built for departures, brick and iron reaching up as if the station itself was trying to leave. Even on a gray London morning, the place glowed, warm light on the arched roof, polished stone catching the shuffle of 1,000 shoes. Commuters moved in practiced currents, Thameslink down below, Eurostar up ahead, King's Cross spilling people in like an open tap. Detective Sergeant Maya Hart liked arriving early, not because she enjoyed the smell of oversteamed coffee and wet wool, but because the station told the truth before it learned to lie. The first wave of travelers still looked like themselves, sleep on their faces, luggage trailing behind them, no time to rehearse. She was halfway through a quiet scan of the concourse when her radio snapped alive. Control to St Pancras unit, reported missing suitcase, potential security concern, exact location near excess baggage by the Eurostar check-in. Maya turned as if the voice had tugged a string at the base of her skull. At St Pancras, missing suitcase was never just missing. It was a word that made crowds stiffen, made staff glance toward the ceiling cameras as though they might drop something heavy. She slipped through the flow of people, flashing her warrant card once to a barrier attendant who looked relieved to have something official to look at. Near the left luggage desk, 2 staff members stood too close together.
Their faces were polite but tight, the kind you saw when someone was trying not to imagine the worst. A man stood in front of them, hands out as if he could hold the moment in place. He was mid-30s, neat haircut, wool coat too thin for January. He kept touching his pocket, checking for something invisible. "That's her," one of the staff murmured, nodding toward Maya, misspeaking in stress. The man's gaze landed on Maya like a pleading hand. "Are you British Transport Police?" he asked. "Detective Sergeant Hart," she said. "Tell me what's happened." He swallowed. "My suitcase is gone." "That happens," Maya said carefully. "Tell me what makes this different." He hesitated, then leaned in as if the station might hear him. "Because it shouldn't be possible. I checked it. They gave me a claim tag. I watched them put it behind the counter. I walked away for maybe 4 minutes. Came back. It's vanished." Maya glanced at the staff. One shook her head quickly, as though denying the universe. "We didn't release it," the staff member said. "We can't. We need the tag. The system logs it. There's a signature line, everything." Maya's eyes moved to the man's hands. "You still have the claim tag?" His fingers tightened around his pocket again. "Yes, here." He produced a small strip of paper with a barcode and a number printed in black. It looked ordinary, flimsy, like the kind of thing you could lose in the lining of a coat and never think about again. Yet he held it like a passport. Maya took it, felt its thinness between her gloved fingers. The barcode was clean, the number sharp. She read it aloud. SPX 44719. The man let out a breath that didn't calm him. "That's mine. That proves it's mine." "It proves you were issued a tag," Maya corrected softly. "Not that you're the only one who can use it." His eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Before Maya could answer, a ripple of tension ran through the nearby crowd, an instinctive tightening, like birds sensing a sudden change in wind. A station announcement began, that calm, neutral voice that could say anything and sound polite. "Attention, please. Due to a security incident, access to the area near Eurostar check-in is temporarily restricted." The words fell into the concourse like a match into dry paper, and Maya realized, with a cold clarity that made her spine straighten, that the man hadn't said what the suitcase looked like. He hadn't described it. He hadn't even seemed to care what was inside. He only cared about the tag. Maya guided him away from the left luggage desk and into the edge of a quieter corridor, where the station's grandeur narrowed into practical tile and signage. 2 uniformed officers moved in behind them, a quiet wall of presence. "What's your name?" Maya asked. He blinked. Daniel. Daniel what? A pause. Daniel Reeves. His accent was London, but softened, educated, the kind that suggested he'd spent time abroad or around people who had. And you're traveling today? Yes. Eurostar, to Paris. He tried to smile, failed. Work. Maya nodded at the claim tag in her hand. You checked the suitcase here. What time? About 20 minutes ago. I needed to make a call. I didn't want to drag it through security. His voice turned brittle. It's ridiculous. It's like someone walked behind the counter and took it as if they belonged. Did anyone touch you? Maya asked. Bump into you, ask you for directions, spill something. Daniel frowned, thinking. A woman with a buggy, maybe. The crowd shifted. Someone brushed past. Maya had heard that line in half the theft reports in London. The city made contact unavoidable. Pickpockets thrived on normality. She studied his face for signs of performance. Fear can be faked, but not easily. Real fear had a rhythm. Breath too shallow, eyes darting to exits, hands never quite still. Daniel's hands were moving, but not toward his wallet, not toward a phone.
Toward his pocket, again and again, as if checking for the tag a second time, even though Maya already held it. What's in the suitcase? She asked. His eyes flinched, tiny, involuntary. Clothes. Just clothes? Yes. Maya let the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable enough to deserve a confession. Daniel's gaze shifted toward the station signs, as if he could change the subject by reading them. Daniel, Maya said, if your suitcase is missing and we have a security incident at the same time, we have to assume worst case until we can rule it out. If it's just clothes, that's easy. If it's not, tell me now. Daniel's throat bobbed. It's just clothes, he repeated, but his voice had lost conviction. Maya felt the first hot spark of irritation, not at him exactly, at the way people always thought their secrets would behave if kept quiet, as if the truth could be folded neatly into a suitcase and left behind a counter. All right, she said, tucking the claim tag into an evidence sleeve. We're going to pull CCTV. We're going to lock down the luggage area until we confirm the bag is not a threat. Meanwhile, you're staying close. Understood? Daniel nodded too fast. Yes. She stepped out, spoke into her radio with clipped clarity. Control, this is DS Hart. Secure the excess baggage area. I want CCTV coverage from 15 minutes before the check-in. Also check any release logs, any claim made under SPX 44719. A reply crackled back. Copy. CCTV is pulling now. Maya turned back to Daniel. Do you have any photo of the suitcase? Travel photo, packing photo, anything? Daniel hesitated. No. That's unusual. I don't take pictures of my suitcase, he said, defensive. Most people don't, Maya allowed, but most people can describe it. Daniel opened his mouth, closed it. Then, black, medium size, wheels. Brand? I don't know. Maya watched him carefully. The station sounds flowed around them, heels clicking, rolling luggage, distant announcements. Daniel seemed to be listening for something else, something only he could hear. Daniel, Maya said, quieter, are you sure you're here to catch a train? His eyes snapped to hers. What? Maya held his gaze. Because right now you're acting like you're waiting for someone to notice you've lost something, like this is meant to happen. Daniel's face drained, as if she'd pull the plug. No, he whispered. I just need it back. Maya's radio crackled again. DS Hart, CCTV has something. You should see this. She felt the station shift, subtle,
like a train gathering speed before you feel it in your stomach. "On my way," Maya said. And Daniel Reeves, stared at the evidence sleeve in her hand as if the small paper tag inside it had just stolen his voice.
In the station office, the air always smelled like old printer toner and too many heated lunches. A monitor flickered with multiple camera angles, wide overhead shots, tight corridor views, the calm eye of St Pancras watching itself. Maya leaned in as the CCTV operator scrubbed back through the footage. "There," the operator said, tapping the screen. The camera angle was high above the left luggage counter. The scene looked almost peaceful from up there. Travelers in orderly lines, staff in uniform, Daniel stepping forward with his suitcase. He handed it over. The staff member waited, printed a tag, wrapped something around the handle. Maya watched Daniel's body language, nervous but contained. He looked over his shoulder twice. Then he tucked the claim tag into his pocket and moved away. "So far, normal," Maya murmured. The operator fast-forwarded. Daniel vanished into the flow of people. The suitcase went behind the counter. Then, something odd. A person approached the counter from the side, not from the queue. A man in a long tan coat, scarf high over his mouth, head lowered. He didn't speak much. He leaned in as though asking a question. The staff member pointed, toward the shelf behind her. The man nodded once, reached into his own pocket, and produced a slip of paper. The staff member glanced at it, typed something, and then, without hesitation, pulled Daniel's suitcase from the shelf and slid it across. Maya's stomach tightened. "Pause," she said. The operator froze the frame.
The man's hand held a claim tag. White strip, barcode visible. Maya looked at Daniel, who stood behind her, pale as the station stone. His mouth opened in disbelief. "That's impossible," Daniel said. Maya's gaze stayed on the screen. "Not impossible," she corrected. "It's recorded." "But he doesn't have my—" Daniel's words collapsed. He stared at Maya. "He had my tag." Maya turned to the operator. "Can you zoom on the tag? Enhance the number?" The operator tried. The footage pixelated into blurred blocks. The barcode became a smear. "No," the operator said, frustrated. "Angle's wrong. Too small." Maya watched the staff member in the video. Casual. Efficient. She'd followed procedure. The system must have confirmed it. Or been tricked into confirming it. "What about the log?" Maya asked. The operator clicked through another screen. "Released at 0817. Tag scanned. Name on file. Daniel Reeves." Daniel's face twisted. "So it thinks that's me. It thinks whoever held the tag was you," Maya said. The man in the tan coat walked away with the suitcase, weaving into the crowd with practiced ease. He didn't run. He didn't look back. He moved like someone who understood London's greatest disguise. Normality. Maya rewound and watched again, focusing on the moment the staff member pointed to the shelf. "Why would she point?" Maya muttered. "She might have been indicating where the bags are stored," one of the uniformed officers suggested. "Some customers panic. They want to see it. Reassurance."
Maya nodded slowly, but her attention snagged on a detail. The man in the tan coat wasn't alone. A second figure drifted in the edge of the frame, a woman with a buggy, exactly like Daniel had mentioned. She didn't join the queue. She moved behind Daniel's earlier path, lingering just enough to block one camera line. A third figure, a teen with a backpack, paused near a pillar, staring at his phone, positioning himself like a casual obstacle between staff and the concourse. A crew, not a random theft, a coordinated extraction. Maya's radio crackled. "Control to DS Hart. CCTV track shows the male suspect moving towards the station's main exit, Euston Roadside." Maya straightened.
Get units to the exit, watch taxi rank, notify station security. Daniel stepped forward. I want to come. Maya met his gaze. No, it's my suitcase. And if this is bigger than a suitcase, Maya said, you don't want to be in the middle of it. Daniel's voice broke. I don't have a choice. Maya hesitated only a moment. She'd seen this before. Victims dragged into events because someone else had decided their life was useful. Stay behind me, she said, and hated herself for allowing it. And don't do anything heroic. They moved fast, pushing through the flow of travelers. The station felt suddenly tighter, crowded with possibility. Every tan coat became a suspect, every buggy a decoy. Maya scanned faces, hands, luggage handles. The thief had minutes. In London, minutes were miles.
Outside, the air hit them cold and damp. Taxi engines idled. People smoked beneath the station's overhang, their breath rising like signals. A shout crackled over the radio. Unit 3, visual on tan coat near the black cabs, moving toward Pancras Road. Maya's heart kicked. She broke into a run. And behind her, Daniel Reeves ran too, chasing a suitcase he claimed was full of clothes, as if his life depended on a handle and 4 wheels.
The suspect didn't sprint. He didn't need to. He walked quickly, suitcase rolling behind him like it belonged. He moved with the calm confidence of someone who knew the crowd would protect him, because nobody wanted to be the one who accused a stranger. Maya cut through commuters, calling out, "British Transport Police, sir, stop!" The man glanced back once, and in that glance, Maya saw something she didn't like. Not fear, not surprise, recognition. He turned sharply down the side street that ran along the station, toward the quieter stretch near Pancras Road and the construction noise beyond. Maya followed, boots slapping wet pavement. One of the uniformed officers peeled off to flank. The suitcase bumped over a curb. The man's pace faltered, just enough. Maya closed the distance, reaching. Drop it. The man swung the suitcase out like a shield, not at her body, but at her line, forcing her to adjust. The movement was practiced. His scarf hid his mouth, but his eyes were clear, bright, focused. He wasn't panicked. He was performing. Maya saw the trick too late. A woman stepped into her path, a buggy, the same kind she'd seen on CCTV, wheels angled to block. Maya swore, sidestepped, nearly colliding with a man carrying a coffee tray. By the time she regained her line, the tan coat had turned into the side entrance of a hotel service lane, a narrow corridor, echoing, perfect for losing someone. Maya pushed in, shoulder first. The corridor smelled of damp brick and fryer oil. At the far end, the man darted left into a small courtyard. Maya emerged and froze. The suitcase sat alone on the cobblestones. No man, no tan coat, just the bag, upright, handle extended, like a raised hand. Her pulse jumped into her throat. "Back," she barked, instinct taking over. She raised a hand to the officers behind her. "Nobody touch it." Street noise seemed to mute. In her head, she heard every briefing she'd ever had. Unattended luggage, public spaces, the thin line between theft and terror. Daniel barreled in behind her, breath ragged. "That's it, that's Maya snapped her head. "Daniel, stop." He halted like he'd hit an invisible wall, staring at the suitcase as if it were a person. Maya radioed. "Control, suspect has abandoned suitcase in service courtyard off Pancras Road. Possible threat, request station bomb assessment and cordon." A calm reply, too calm. "Copy, DS Hart, units en route, keep distance." Maya's eyes never left the suitcase. She forced herself to breathe slowly. Watch for wires, watch for unnatural bulges, watch for anything that didn't belong. But the suitcase looked ordinary, black, scuffed at one corner, wheels slightly worn, the kind you bought because it was cheap and lasted long enough. "Open it," Daniel whispered, unable to help himself. Maya didn't respond. She circled, keep distance, looking for tampering. The handle was extended, the zips were intact.
No teep, no bulge, nothing. Still, her instincts refused to settle.
The man had abandoned it too cleanly, too deliberately, as if he wanted it found, as if he wanted someone to open it. Minutes stretched. Then the first response team arrived, taking over the cordon with brisk efficiency. A specialist approached in protective gear, carrying equipment that made the ordinary suitcase look suddenly monstrous. Maya stood back, jaw clenched, as the specialist examined, scanned, and finally nodded. "Clear," he said. "No device. You can open it." The words fell like a release, but Maya felt no relief. Not yet. She stepped forward, gloved hands on the zips. Daniel's eyes were fixed, unblinking. Maya pulled the suitcase open. It yawned wide and revealed nothing. No clothes, no toiletries, no laptop, no personal mess, just an empty cavity lined with dark fabric. Daniel made a strangled sound, half laugh, half choke. That's not possible," he whispered. Maya stared into the emptiness, feeling something colder than fear slide into place. Because thieves stole what had value, and someone had risked a manhunt, a security alert, and a coordinated extraction for an empty suitcase.
Back inside the station office, the suitcase sat on the floor like an accusation. Open, empty, silent. Daniel stood over it as if waiting for it to explain itself. "It was heavier," he insisted. "When I dragged it in, it wasn't empty." Maya watched him. People lied all the time, but most lies had a purpose. Money, pride, avoiding trouble. Daniel's insistence sounded like a man arguing with reality. "Could you have swapped it?" one officer asked, gently. Daniel snapped his gaze up. "No, I'm not an idiot." Maya held up the evidence sleeve containing the claim tag. "You said this proves it's yours." "It's mine," Daniel repeated, voice strained. "I got it here." Maya nodded toward the suitcase handle. "And this tag, was it attached to the suitcase handle when you checked it?" Daniel blinked. "Yes." Maya crouched and examined the handle. There was no torn paper, no adhesive residue, no sign anything had been wrapped around it. "That's odd," Maya murmured. Daniel's face tightened. "What do you mean?" Maya stood. If a tag was attached, there should be some trace, unless it was attached loosely and removed cleanly. "It was stapled," Daniel said quickly, then looked startled at his own certainty. Maya's attention sharpened. "You remember that detail now?" Daniel swallowed. "Yes, I remember. I watched them, stapled, around the handle." Maya studied the suitcase again. Still no trace. She turned to the staff member from excess baggage who had been brought in to answer questions.
"Do you staple tags?" The staff member shook her head. "We don't staple. We loop. It's adhesive, like a wristband." Daniel's face drained further. No, I saw." "You saw what you expected to see," Maya said quietly, "or what someone wanted you to see." Daniel stared at her as if she'd slapped him. Maya stepped aside and spoke to the CCTV operator again. "Show me the moment the tag is attached." They replayed it, frame by frame. The staff member wrapped a band of paper around the suitcase handle. No stapler, no visible tool, just a smooth motion, practiced, efficient. Daniel's mouth opened in slow horror. That's not my memory," he whispered. Maya's voice was calm, but inside her thoughts were moving quickly. Memory could be unreliable under stress, but Daniel had been calm when he checked in. He wasn't fleeing an emergency. Why would his brain invent staples?
unless someone had manipulated the moment, distracted him, guided him, slipped something into his pocket. Maya turned her gaze on Daniel's coat. "Empty your pockets, carefully, everything." Daniel flinched. "Why?" "Because," Maya said, "I want to know what else you're carrying that you didn't arrive with." His hands trembled as he complied. Phone, wallet, keys, a receipt from Pret, a coin, a lighter he claimed he didn't use, then another slip of paper, folded small, tucked deep in the lining. Daniel frowned. "That's not—" Maya took it before he could, unfolded it. Another claim tag, same paper, same format.
Different number. Daniel stared. "I've never seen that." Maya read it aloud. SPX-44718. One digit away from the tag in evidence. Daniel's breath caught. "What is that?" "A near miss," Maya said. "A twin." Her mind clicked through possibilities. 2 tags printed close together. One meant for Daniel. One meant for someone else. Someone had put the second tag in his pocket, maybe during that bump in the crowd, so he'd remember a different process, a different sequence. A small planted confusion, like grit in gears. Maya turned to the staff member. Was there a bag checked just before Daniel's? The staff member hesitated, then nodded. Yes, a man. He didn't speak much. Tan coat, actually. Maya's gaze snapped to the CCTV. "Pull that clip. Show me his check-in." They found it. The tan coat man checked a suitcase minutes before Daniel. Similar size, similar color, similar wear on the wheels. And when he received his claim tag, he slid it into his pocket with a smoothness that Maya's skin prickle. Because he wasn't storing a tag, he was pocketing a key. Daniel's voice shook. So, the suitcase isn't the target. Maya looked at the 2 claim tags like paired teeth. "No," she said. "The suitcase is a distraction." Daniel whispered, barely audible. "Then what's the target?" Maya's eyes lifted to the station beyond the office door. Crowds moving, identities blurring, names dissolving into motion. And she answered with the only thing that made sense. "A person," she said.
The system behind left luggage was built on small trust. You handed over your bag, they handed you a tag. You returned with the tag and reclaimed your property. A simple loop, paper, barcode, confirmation. But Maya had worked long enough to know simple loops were easy to hijack. She went to the terminal log, tracing both claim tag numbers. SPX 44719, issued to Daniel Reeves, bag accepted at 0812, released at 0817 to male suspect in tan coat. SPX 44718, issued 2 minutes earlier, bag accepted at 0810, status still stored, not released. Maya stared at the screen. So the tan coat didn't just steal Daniel's bag, she murmured. He left his own behind. "Why would he do that?" a uniformed officer asked. "Because the bag he left behind is his real one," Daniel said suddenly, voice rough. "He swapped." Maya looked at him. Daniel's eyes were bloodshot with adrenaline and confusion, but something in him had clicked. Fear sometimes sharpens people into clarity. "He stole mine because it was empty," Daniel continued, almost to himself. He needed an empty bag. Something that wouldn't— He stopped, swallowing. Something that wouldn't matter if it got opened. Maya's chest tightened. "You knew it was empty." Daniel's gaze flickered away. "I told you it was clothes. That's not an answer." Daniel's lips parted. Then he whispered, I didn't want trouble. Maya stepped closer. Daniel, why was your suitcase empty? Silence pressed in. Even the officer seemed to lean toward it.
Daniel's voice came out thin. Because I wasn't traveling. Maya felt anger flare, hot, sharp. You told me you were taking Eurostar. I planned to, Daniel said, desperate. Or I thought I did. I needed to get through the station. I needed to look like a person who belonged. Maya's eyes narrowed. Why? Daniel's throat tightened. Because my name isn't Daniel Reeves. The words dropped like a stone into water. Ripples spread through the room. Maya kept her face calm. Then who are you? Daniel, whatever his name was, shook his head. I don't know anymore. Maya stared at him, searching for manipulation. But all she saw was someone whose reality had begun to slide. Explain, she said. He dragged a hand through his hair. A month ago, I applied for a new job, Canary Wharf, finance. They asked for background checks. I'm clean. I thought I was. But then I got an email, a screenshot of my passport, my address, a list of dates, things I'd never done. He swallowed hard. They said if I wanted my life to continue, I needed to do something small, harmless. Check an empty suitcase in St Pancras left luggage at 0812 and walk away. Maya's stomach turned. Who said that? I don't know. It came from a burner address. But they knew everything about me. His eyes glittered with shame. Or about the person I've been. Maya felt a cold line form in her thoughts. Blackmail, identity manipulation, a staged theft, a planted tag. She turned to the log again and tapped the screen. SPX 44718 is still stored. Bring it out. Now. Station staff retrieved the tan coat man's bag under controlled procedure. It was heavier than Daniel's empty suitcase. It had a faint scuff mark shaped like a crescent near the bottom corner. Maya knelt, zipped it open. Inside was not clothes. Inside were folders, plastic sleeves, a small lockbox, a passport in a clear pouch. Maya's heart thudded once, hard. The passport photo showed a man with a neutral expression, hair combed neatly. His eyes were eerily familiar, because the face was Daniel's, but the name wasn't. The name printed in black letters was Julian Ashford. Daniel staggered back as if the air had punched him. That's me, he whispered. Maya stared at the passport, feeling the shape of the case change beneath her fingers. This wasn't theft. This was replacement. Somewhere in London, someone had taken a name and left another behind, like luggage. Maya took the passport out and held it at arm's length, as if distance could make it less real. A British passport, authentic looking, the kind of document that opened borders and bank accounts and futures. Julian Ashford. She'd never heard the name, but names weren't just words. They were hooks, and people used them to pull lives out of water. Daniel, Julian, stood rigid, staring at his own face under someone else's identity. I've never seen that, he said, voice fractured. I didn't. Maya believed him, not because she trusted strangers easily, but because his shock was too specific to fake. It was the expression of a person seeing themselves from the outside. She flipped through the folders in the suitcase. Bank statements, utility bills, a tenancy agreement, a driving license in the same name, all with Daniel's face, all manufactured with meticulous care. This was an identity kit. Maya's radio crackled.
Control to Diaz Hart. We've got reports of a male in a tan coat moving through King's Cross underground entrance. Maya's jaw tightened. He's heading to the tube, she muttered, but her mind was already somewhere else. This is bigger than a single thief. A uniformed officer asked, "What do you want us to do with him, Julian?" Maya turned to Daniel. "You're coming with us," she said. "Voluntarily or under arrest. Your choice." Daniel's eyes flicked to the passport again, like it was a weapon. Am I in trouble?" "You're in something," Maya said. "And I need to know if you're a pawn or part of the board." He flinched. I didn't mean." "Then start telling me everything," Maya snapped, less gently than she intended, "from the beginning." They moved to a smaller interview room. Maya sat across from him, a recorder on the table between them, the passport and folder stacked like silent witnesses. Daniel, Julian, spoke in fits, as though dragging truth up through mud. He'd lived in London for years, steady job, small flat in Islington. Then a letter arrived with no return address. Inside, a photocopy of his passport, a list of transactions, a warning. "We have your name." He thought it was a scam until his bank froze his account and his employer asked quiet questions about an issue. The panic crept into his bones then, slow and poisonous. He tried to fight it, called banks, checked credit reports, filed reports. The system responded with forms and delays and polite indifference. Then the email came. Instructions, time, place. A photo of him leaving his building, taken from across the street. Proof that someone could watch him breathe. "Why St. Pancras?" Maya asked. Daniel licked dry lips. "They said it was secure. Cameras. Staff. That it would be safe." "Safe for what?" He swallowed. "For the exchange." Maya's fingers tapped once on the table. "Exchange of land." Daniel's eyes wet. "My life. For theirs." The words made Maya's skin tighten. She'd heard criminals talk about deals. She'd heard victims talk about fear. But this sounded like someone being traded. Maya pulled out the second claim tag, SPX 44718, the one planted in Daniel's pocket. "Do you know why this was on you?" Daniel shook his head. "No." Maya held it up. "This is a key. Whoever holds it can claim the suitcase that matches it." Daniel's voice trembled. "So whoever holds my tag can claim me." The sentence hung in the air, absurd and horrifying. Maya thought about borders, about St. Pancras being not just a station but a threshold, Eurostar, passport checks, a place where identity was a gate. A bag claim tag wasn't just a ticket to luggage, it was proof of possession. Maya's phone buzzed with a message from a colleague in records. Julian Ashford, flagged name, reported deceased in 2019. Maya stared at the screen until the words sharpened. Dead in 2019. Yet his passport sat on her table, warm from handling, alive in paper. Maya looked at Daniel. "Do you know Julian Ashford?" she asked. Daniel shook his head, helpless. "I am him, apparently." Maya leaned forward, voice low. "Then someone has just resurrected you for a reason." Daniel whispered. "What reason?" Maya's eyes drifted to the claim tag again, that thin slip of paper that had started it all. And suddenly, the manhunt outside, the tan coat moving through crowds, felt like a distraction too. Because the real chase wasn't for a suitcase, it was for a name that could walk through passport control like it belonged. The next hours unfolded like a map being unrolled, each corner revealing another street, another hidden line. Maya and her team cross-checked Julian Ashford through every database they could legally touch. The result was a story stitched together from official fragments and ominous gaps. Julian Ashford, born in Kent, educated, mid-level consultant, no criminal record.
Then, a death certificate filed in 2019, cause listed as accidental drowning, body recovered from the Thames, closed case. But the photo on file was Daniel's face, a face that sat across from Maya now, breathing. "You're not Julian Ashford," Maya said finally. "At least not the original." Daniel's hands clenched on his knees. "Then why does it say I'm dead?" "Because," Maya said, "dead people make excellent identities. They don't complain. They don't correct records. They can't show up and ruin a plan." She watched the words land on him, watched him turn pale again. A detective constable brought in printed screenshots, recent transactions linked to Julian Ashford, phone contracts, a short-term rental near Paddington, a train ticket purchased with contactless payment. "Someone's been using the name actively," the constable said. "Last purchase was yesterday." Maya's gaze sharpened. Then the identity isn't just theoretical, it's moving. She thought of the tan coat suspect. He'd left behind the real suitcase with the identity kit, which meant he hadn't needed to keep it.
He only needed the claim tag, something smaller, easier to carry, harder to notice, a token. Whoever has SPX 44718 can retrieve the identity kit, Maya said aloud, or prove they've already retrieved what they need. Daniel's voice was small. So what was the empty suitcase for? Maya stared at him. To create noise. A security incident pulls staff attention. People stop watching the subtle theft and start watching the obvious threat. Daniel squeezed his eyes shut as if trying to rewind time. I was used. Yes, Maya said, and then softened slightly. But you're also a witness, which is why you're still alive. Her phone buzzed again, an update from a unit near King's Cross Underground. The tan coat suspect had been lost in the crowd at the tube barriers. Too many exits, too many bodies, too many cameras with too many blind spots. Maya felt frustration flare, but she forced it down. London was built to let people disappear. That was part of its magic and its curse. She returned to the suitcase contents, flipping through documents again. One folder was different, thicker, sealed with a strip of tape. Maya peeled it open. Inside were photocopies of passports, not just one, many. Different faces, different names, some with visas, some with UK residency permits, some with French entry stamps. A portfolio of lives. Daniel stared at the papers. That's a lot. It's a market, Maya said quietly. Someone sells doors. Someone buys keys. She found a final item in the lockbox, a small plastic tag, identical format to the St Pancras claim tags, but not from St Pancras. The print was faded, the barcode scratched. It was from another station, another city, another system. Maya felt the pattern snap into focus. These people used claim tags like currency, proof of exchange, proof that a package, identity, documents, access had been delivered and could be collected. Paper keys that didn't look like keys. Daniel's voice trembled. "So what happens to me?" Maya looked at him, and for the first time in hours, she saw something beyond fear. She saw grief, the quiet grief of a person realizing their life could be rewritten on paper. "We're going to protect you," Maya said, "but you need to tell me something, Daniel." He looked up, eyes raw. "What?" Maya slid the passport toward him. "When they first contacted you, what did they call you?" Daniel swallowed. "They called me Julian." Maya nodded slowly, feeling the chill deepen.
Then they don't just want the name, she said. They want the person who can wear it. Daniel whispered. Why? Maya's gaze drifted toward the station beyond the walls. Eurostar check-in, passport gates, the line between UK and continent. Because a stolen identity is valuable, she said, but a living face that matches it, she let the sentence hang, is priceless.
By late afternoon, St. Pancras had returned to its usual rhythm. The security incident had been smoothed over with announcements and polite apologies. People were back to rolling suitcases and looking at screens. London hated disruption, but loved forgetting. Maya didn't forget. She stood at the edge of Eurostar check-in, watching the flow of passengers as if she could see the invisible threads tying them together. Families, students, businessmen, all of them clutching passports as if paper could anchor them. Somewhere in that crowd, she suspected, someone carried a claim tag. Not because they wanted luggage, because they wanted a life. Maya's team had set a quiet trap. They'd rechecked the tan coat man's suitcase into storage under controlled conditions, logged, flagged, watched. The claim tag number SPX 44718 remained valid in the system, like bait left in water. If they come back for it, the constable said, we'll see them. Maya nodded, but her instincts warned her. The person who returned might not be the same person who stole. In these operations, hands were interchangeable. The tag mattered, the body holding it didn't. Daniel sat nearby with an officer, hood up, trying to be invisible in a place built to swallow invisibility. He looked smaller now, like someone who had been unfolded and couldn't be neatly folded again. Maya approached him. Any new contact? She asked. Daniel shook his head. Nothing. That's not reassuring, Maya muttered. Daniel's voice cracked.
What do they want me to do? Why would they build a dead man's identity with my face?
Maya stared at the station clock. Because they need continuity, she said. A face that matches a passport. A person who can pass a casual glance. A voice that sounds right in conversation. Daniel's eyes widened. So they want me to travel as Julian. Or they want someone else to travel as Julian using your face, Maya said. Which is worse? A commotion near the luggage desk caught Maya's attention. A woman in a navy coat, hair pulled back, stood at the counter with a calm impatience. She looked like a commuter, not a criminal. She held a claim tag between two fingers. Maya's pulse tightened. The woman smiled at the staff, said something Maya couldn't hear. The staff member scans tag. Maya moved closer, blending into the crowd. Her team shifted subtly, closing angles without alarming anyone. The staff member nodded, turned, reached for the bag. The woman waited, posture relaxed. Maya watched her hands. No trembling, no hurry. The confidence of someone who expected the world to comply. The bag appeared, the tan coat man's suitcase. The woman's smile deepened. Maya stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said, voice polite and sharp. "British Transport Police. Can I have a quick word?" The woman's eyes flicked to Maya's badge. Her smile didn't vanish, it simply changed shape. "Of course," she said calmly. "Is there a problem?" Maya kept her gaze steady.
"That suitcase. Can you tell me what's inside?" The woman tilted her head slightly. "My belongings." "Name?" "Julian Ashford," she said, without hesitation. Maya felt the world narrow to a thin point. "That name belongs to a deceased person," Maya said. The woman blinked once. Just once. I'm sure there's been an administrative confusion. Maya's team moved in. The woman didn't run. She didn't panic. She simply reached into her pocket and produced a passport. And Maya's stomach turned cold, because the passport photo was Daniel's face, but the person holding it was a woman. Maya stared, mind racing. Altered photo? A mask? A forgery built to exploit quick glances? Or something more disturbing, an identity system so broken it could be bent into any shape? The woman held the passport out. "See?" she said gently. "Everything is in order." Maya took it, examined it. The document looked real, but the details were wrong. Birth date mismatched, gender marker adjusted, a patchwork of legitimacy, a forged bridge over a gap. Maya handed it back slowly. "Come with us," she said. The woman's smile flickered. "I'm afraid I can't." Her hand dropped toward her bag handle, and in that tiny movement, Maya saw the threat. She was about to disappear into the crowd, into the underground, into London's 1,000 exits. Maya stepped in close. "Don't," she warned. The woman's eyes sharpened, and in a voice so soft, only Maya heard, she said, "The bag is empty." Maya froze, just for a breath. The woman used that breath. She slipped sideways, not running, simply merging into a cluster of travelers like ink in water. Maya lunged, but a suitcase clipped her shin. A tourist turned. An apology burst from someone's mouth like a reflex, and the woman was gone. Maya's hand clenched. Behind her, Daniel whispered, voice shaking. She said the bag was empty. Maya stared at the suitcase now in BTP hands, heavy, full of documents, full of lives. "Not that bag," Maya murmured. Her eyes snapped to the claim tag in the woman's hand, now gone with her into London. "It's never the bag," Maya said. "It's the proof." And somewhere in the station, someone who wasn't Daniel Reeves and wasn't Julian Ashford and wasn't even the woman, now held a slip of paper that could unlock a stolen identity like a door. Night settled over London early, as it always did in winter, turning glass into mirrors and streetlights into halos. St Pancras glowed warmer, busier, the station becoming what it loved to be, a threshold. Maya's team expanded the net. They reviewed footage of the navy coat woman, her approach, her smile, her slight head tilt. They tracked her through cameras until she hit a gap, one of those blind seams where London quietly swallowed people. Not a tourist, the CCTV analyst said. She moves like she knows the coverage. Maya agreed. That woman wasn't the mastermind. She was a courier, smooth, calm, replaceable. Daniel sat with a paper cup of tea he wasn't drinking. He watched the station with haunted focus, as if expecting his own face to walk past wearing another name. Maya leaned beside him. "Listen," she said quietly. "If they contacted you before, they might contact you again." Daniel's jaw tightened. "What do I do if they do?" "Tell me immediately," Maya said. "Don't answer. Don't negotiate." Daniel's voice was bitter. "I didn't negotiate the first time. I just obeyed." Maya met his gaze. "You're not obeying now." His eyes flickered with a fragile kind of relief. At 1922, Maya's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her stomach tightened. She held it up, showing Daniel. His face strained. That's how it came last time," he whispered. Maya answered on speaker, her voice controlled. "Detective Sergeant Hart." A pause, then a voice, distorted slightly, the cadence careful. "Is Julian with you?"
Daniel flinched at the name. Maya didn't blink. Who is this? Another pause, as if the voice smiled behind the distortion. A person who dislikes loose ends. Maya's fingers curled around her phone. You've committed multiple offenses: identity fraud, blackmail, theft. A soft exhale. Such heavy words for such light paper. Maya felt anger flash. Where are you? In the station, the voice said pleasantly. Where else? Maya's gaze swept the crowd, suddenly suspicious of everyone. What do you want? Julian, the voice said, and though it was speaking to Maya, it felt addressed to Daniel's blood. You left your tag behind. Daniel's throat tightened. I don't have. Maya cut in. What tag? The little strip, the voice said, almost kind. The one that proves you can reclaim what's yours. Maya's voice was ice. You already reclaimed it. The suitcase is in police custody. A tiny laugh. Not that suitcase. Maya's mind snapped through the day's events. The empty bag, the planted tag, the woman courier. What did the tag point to? Maya demanded. A pause, longer this time. Then, a name, a clean one, a useful one. Maya's jaw clenched. Julian Ashford is dead. The voice softened. Dead people are quiet. We prefer quiet. Maya's eyes narrowed. Then why involve Daniel at all? The voice breathed out. Because the face must match the story. A name can open doors, a face can walk through them. Daniel's hands trembled. They want me to.
Maya raised a hand to silence him. What happens if Julian doesn't cooperate? Maya asked. The voice replied without hesitation. Then Julian becomes what the system already says he is. Maya felt cold spread under her skin. Dead. A correction, the voice said smoothly. Administrative. Maya's stomach turned. She pictured a death certificate, a bureaucratic ending, a life erased on paper. Maya stepped away from Daniel, scanning faces harder now. You've already killed Julian once. Not killed, the voice corrected. Filed. The call clicked off. Maya stood for a moment in the station's noise, phone still pressed to her ear, listening to nothing. Then she turned to her team. They're here, she said. And they're not done. She looked at Daniel, whose face had become a pale mask of fear and fury. We're not waiting for them to move, Maya said. We're going to move first. And somewhere in St Pancras, among tourists and lovers and commuters, someone carried a slip of paper like a knife, small enough to hide, sharp enough to cut a life in half.
Maya's plan was simple in concept and brutal in execution. Make the target worthless. You couldn't steal an identity if the person behind it refused to be predictable. She moved Daniel, Julian, into a different look. Cap, scarf, glasses, a different coat borrowed from a uniformed officer. Not a disguise that would fool a determined watcher, but enough to make cameras hesitate, to disrupt a quick grab. Meanwhile, she had her team quietly spread the rumor through official channels. A forged passport operation had been discovered. Border staff were briefed. Eurostar check-ins were alerted to watch for Julian Ashford documents. If the criminals tried to move that identity through St Pancras tonight, they'd hit resistance. And criminals hated resistance. At 20:05, the station's CCTV analyst flagged a familiar shape, a tan coat near the retail corridor, lingering by a pillar, head down as if texting. Maya's pulse sharpened. That's him, she murmured. Daniel's breathing hitched.
I saw him earlier, he whispered. When I checked the suitcase, he was close. Maya watched the tan coat on the monitor. He wasn't rushing. He was waiting for something that would come to him. Maya positioned herself near the left luggage desk, eyes scanning the crowd directly now, not through cameras. Her team stood scattered, one by the W.H. Smith, one near the Eurostar queue, one by the underground entrance. The tan coat man moved, not toward the luggage desk, toward Daniel. Maya's heart slammed once.
The man had spotted him despite the borrowed coat. Or perhaps he'd never been relying on sight. Perhaps he'd been following something else. Behavior, location, pattern. The tan coat came close enough that Maya could see his eyes clearly now. Sharp, calm, alert. He didn't look like a thug. He looked like a professional. Daniel stiffened, trying not to react. The tan coat man passed him without a glance. Then, as if by accident, he dropped something at Daniel's feet. A small strip of paper. A claim tag. Daniel's eyes flicked down. Fear flashed. Maya stepped in immediately, scooping the tag before Daniel could move. She slipped it into her pocket, keeping her face neutral. The tan coat man turned slightly, watching her. Maya met his gaze. For a heartbeat, they stared at each other in the middle of St Pancras, like two people acknowledging a private war. Then, the tan coat man smiled, barely, and moved away. Maya exhaled slowly, forcing herself not to chase. The tag was in her pocket. The question was, what did it open? She examined it in a quiet corner. Not SPX 44718, not SPX 44719. A new number. SPX 44731. Maya's skin prickled. A fresh tag, printed today. A live key. She turned to the system log, had staff discreetly check what SPX 44731 corresponded to. The staff member's fingers hovered over keys, then froze. DS, she whispered. It's not a suitcase. Maya's stomach tightened. What is it? The staff member swallowed. It's a person. Maya stared. That's not possible.
The staff member's voice shook. The system notes, special collection, not luggage, package, hold for ID verification. Maya felt a cold rush. A package. A person could be called a package if you stopped believing they were human. Maya's radio crackled. DS Hart, we've got a disturbance near platform access. Someone's being escorted, looks unwell. Maya moved fast, heart thundering. She pushed through crowds, scanning ahead. And then she saw it. Two men, station security uniforms, guiding a third person, young, thin, hoodie pulled up, face down. The young man's hands were not cuffed, but his posture screamed restraint. The tan coat was nearby, shadowing them like a handler. Maya's breath caught. This wasn't about luggage at all. This was the delivery. She stepped forward, voice cutting through station noise. Stop, British Transport Police. The security uniformed men hesitated. Maya's eyes locked on the tan coat. You, she said sharply. Hands where I can see them. The tan coat man raised his hands slightly, calm as ever. Officer, he said smooth, you're making a scene. Maya didn't blink. That's the point. The young man in the hoodie lifted his head, eyes wild, scanning for escape. And for a split second, Maya saw his face clearly. It wasn't Daniel's. It was someone else entirely. Yet the tan coat man spoke as if addressing him. Julian, he said softly. Maya's blood ran cold. Because the criminals weren't just stealing Daniel's identity. They were assigning it to someone new.
Chaos in a station is rarely loud at first. It begins with confusion, hesitation, glances, bodies adjusting. Maya used that hesitation like a wedge. She stepped between the hoodie boy and the men posing as security. Show me your ID, she demanded. One of them reached for a lanyard too quickly. Maya caught the movement, saw the cheap plastic, the printed badge without proper hologram. Fake, she said flatly. The man's eyes hardened. The tan coat's calm finally cracked into urgency. "Walk away," the tan coat man said quietly, to Maya alone. "This isn't your business." Maya's voice was sharp. "Everything that happens in this station is my business." The hoodie boy tried to pull back. One of the fake security men tightened his grip. Maya moved fast, grabbing the boy's arm, yanking him toward her. "Run," she hissed. The boy stumbled, then bolted instinctively, vanishing into the nearest gap in the crowd like a rabbit into hedges. The tan coat man lunged after him, but Maya stepped in his path, shoulder-checking him hard. For the first time, she felt the man's strength, controlled, trained. He didn't swing wildly. He shifted, trying to slip past. Professional. Maya's team moved in. One grabbed the fake security men. Another pursued the hoodie boy, guiding him towards safety, rather than letting him disappear into danger. The tan coat man hesitated, just one beat too long. London crowds hate fights. They turn their bodies into obstacles, even while pretending not to look. Maya used that.
She drove the tan coat man backward into a wall by a pret, pinning him with her forearm. "Who are you?" she hissed. His eyes remained oddly calm. "A courier," he said. "Of what?" Maya snapped. He smiled, faint. "Of stories." Maya tightened her grip. "Who is Julian Ashford?" The tan coat man's smile thinned. "A file, a label, a useful shape." Maya's skin crawled. Why Daniel's face? The man's gaze flicked past Maya to where Daniel stood, frozen near a pillar, watching like a man witnessing his own theft. "Because he fits," the tan coat man said softly, "and because he's compliant." Daniel flinched as if struck. Maya's anger surged. "You blackmailed him." The tan coat man's voice was almost bored. "We offered him a choice. People like choices. They feel moral." Maya slammed him harder against the wall. "Where is the real Julian Ashford?" The tan coat man blinked slowly. "There was no real Julian Ashford," he said. Maya froze. "What?" His eyes held hers. "Julian Ashford was made. Like a banknote. Like a passport stamp. Like a signature. A believable fiction." Maya's mind spun. If Julian Ashford was fabricated, then the death certificate, the drowning, the closed case, also fabricated. A paper trail invented to make the identity feel old, settled, unquestioned. Then why mark him deceased? Maya demanded. The tan coat man's gaze slid toward Daniel again. "So the name could be reborn," he said, "whenever needed. A rebirth triggered by a claim tag, a token exchange in a public place." Maya felt sick with recognition. The station wasn't just a travel hub. It was an exchange point, a marketplace where people traded identities the way others traded watches. She heard shouting as officers restrained the fake security men. The hoodie boy was being guided away, trembling, crying, insisting he didn't know what was happening. He'd been promised money, a ticket, a new name. A new name. Maya looked at Daniel and finally understood the depth of the trap. Daniel hadn't just been forced to check an empty suitcase. He'd been forced to show that his face could pass in public under the name Julian Ashford. He'd been tested. And then they tried to hand that tested identity to someone else, someone more disposable, more controllable. Maya's jaw clenched. "You were going to replace him." The tan coat man's smile returned, small, cruel. "We replace everyone," he said. "That's the point." Maya dragged him upright, snapping cuffs onto his wrists. "Not tonight." The man leaned close, voice barely a breath. "You think arresting me stops it?" Maya's eyes burned. "It stops you." The tan coat man's smile widened slightly. "I'm only the hand," he whispered. "The claim tag is the mind."
Then he lifted his cuffed hands just enough to show her something between his fingers. A slip of paper, half crumpled. A claim tag. Not the one Maya held. A different one. He'd kept another key.
And Maya felt the cold truth settle. Even as she caught him, something else was already moving through London with a name in its pocket.
By midnight, St Pancras had quieted into its late-night hum. Cleaning machines whispered across the floor. A few travelers dozed on benches, faces lit by phone screens. The station looked peaceful in the way only exhausted places could. Maya sat in the office, coat still on, hands wrapped around a mug she'd forgotten to drink. The tan coat man sat in custody, silent now, lawyers requested, calm returning like a mask. The fake security men were being processed. The hoodie boy was safe for the moment, frightened and confused, caught between being victim and accomplice. Daniel sat across from Maya, staring at the passport with his face and Julian Ashford's name. "I don't know who I am," he said quietly. Maya's voice softened. "You're Daniel," she said. "You're the person who lived your life. That matters more than what paper says." Daniel's laugh was broken. "But paper decides everything." Maya didn't argue. In London, paperwork could ruin you without ever touching you. A false debt, a false warrant, a false death. She slid a new file toward him. Temporary protective measures, identity fraud report, referrals. Steps that sounded firm but felt fragile. "We'll start rebuilding," she said, slowly. Daniel stared at her. "Will you catch them?" Maya thought about the claim tag the tancoat man had hidden, thought about how many other tags existed, paper keys passed hand to hand like cigarettes, thought about the woman in the navy coat, smiling as she vanished into the crowd,
Thought about how easy it was to disappear in a city designed for movement. "We'll catch some," Maya said honestly. "We'll disrupt, we'll burn routes. But this isn't one person, it's a system." Daniel's eyes flickered with despair. "So they'll just do it again?" Maya leaned forward, gaze steady. "Maybe," she said, "but now they know something too." "What?" Maya tapped the passport. "That the name Julian Ashford is compromised. Once police touch an identity, it stops being clean." Daniel swallowed. "So they'll make a new one?" "Yes," Maya said, "but making a new one takes time, risk, paperwork, and the more they do it, the more fingerprints they leave, digital ones, human ones." Daniel stared at the station beyond the office glass. "All because of a claim tag," he whispered. Maya nodded. "Because a claim tag is a promise," she said. "It says this belongs to you. Show the proof, and you get it back." Daniel's voice was bitter. "And they used it to claim me." Maya didn't deny it. She'd seen thefts of phones, wallets, jewelry. But this was a theft of existence. A constable stepped in, holding a small evidence bag. "DS," he said, "you should see this." Inside the bag was a strip of paper, another claim tag, found in the tan coat man's sleeve seam. Maya read the number. Not St Pancras format. Her stomach tightened. "Where's this from?" she asked. The constable replied, "Paris, Gare du Nord. Same style, different system." Maya's mind snapped to the broader map. London to Paris, stations as nodes, claim tags as passports for stolen lives. She looked at Daniel. "They're not local," she said quietly. "They're continental." Daniel's eyes widened, fear returning. "So they can move anywhere." Maya stared at the tag in the evidence bed.
Maya's mind snapped to the broader map. London to Paris, stations as nodes, claim tags as passports for stolen lives. She looked at Daniel. "They're not local," she said quietly. "They're continental." Daniel's eyes widened, fear returning. "So they can move anywhere." Maya stared at the tag in the evidence bag, that thin paper key that could open a locker, a suitcase, a life. "People think the city's danger is in the shadows," Maya said softly. "But most real danger is paperwork. It walks in daylight." Daniel whispered, "Will I ever feel normal again?" Maya hesitated. Then she answered him with the only truth she had. "You'll feel different," she said, "but different can still be yours." Outside, a late Eurostar arrival emptied into the station. New faces, new bags, new names carried in pockets. The station absorbed them all, indifferent, beautiful. Maya watched the flow and felt the case settle into her bones like winter. An empty suitcase had sparked a manhunt, but the suitcase had never mattered. It was the claim tag, the proof, the tiny strip of paper that said a thing could be owned. And tonight, London had reminded her of its oldest lesson. In a crowded city, the easiest thing to steal isn't luggage, it's identity.